From Disney struggling to keep its massive franchises profitable, to the father of Star Wars wanting creative control over his baby again, here's why George Lucas is buying back Lucasfilm. The Star Wars creator may have been sidelined after selling the franchise to the media giant Disney, but that doesn't mean he's completely detached from it. In fact, if anything, people have been rallying behind the creative genius to retake the series because, without him, Star Wars and Indiana Jones just aren't the same. They've lost their original charm, and you could blame it on George's absence. Sure, it's not like Disney stole his company from him, because he did get $4 billion for it, but again, Lucas is a creator, not a businessman, so he misses his baby. After 11 years of him selling the company, though, there's finally a chance for him to bring it back home, because Disney's having a hard time keeping it profitable, and it makes perfect sense. Star Wars could never survive as a low-budget production in this day and age. It has to use the highest quality CGI these days, or the fans will come out in droves to riot. Plus, there's the issue of quality, too. The franchise has been on a downward trajectory for a while now, and sure, we've had some decent series like Andor or even The Mandalorian, but the truth is that they're not big enough to be sustainable. That's also part of the reason why Mando isn't as good as it used to be during its first couple of seasons. It's already extremely hard to make these $100 million shows, but when people start to not like them, well, then you're screwed. With fans not liking any recent Star Wars content, Disney's struggling to justify the insane production costs. Besides, with a Star Wars film, they know they're going to earn a ton of money at the box office, even if they're bad. But the same can't be said for the TV shows. And well, it's been a while since they've made a movie, hasn't it? This is where George Lucas comes into play. He's never been interested in working under Disney, not even as a consultant. But if he gets full control over the franchise, he's going to be all hands on deck, and you know what that means. The fans are going to follow him as well. People underestimate the impact that someone like George can have on the franchise, not only in terms of the creative force he brings, but also in driving the fandom back to the franchise. Star Wars fans have been frustrated at Kathleen Kennedy's direction over the past few years, even asking for her to step down from her position as the head of the franchise. If Lucas is up there, though, all those fans who left the series would return to the series in a heartbeat. I'm not saying Lucas is the be-all end-all solution to the franchise's problems, but if there's one guy that could give a massive boost to it and reunite the fan base, it's him. This will drive the series' numbers through the roof. Even more importantly, though, Lucas could regain control over the upcoming Star Wars movies, which would make fans believe in the creative vision for those too. I mean, the sequel trilogy did a lot of damage to the series' reputation, so it needs something drastic like this to win the fans over again. That said, these are all hypothetical scenarios right now, because even though we've heard rumors about George buying Lucasfilm, nothing's set in stone yet. In fact, the rumor only started swirling on social media because of Disney's financial troubles, and those aren't just limited to the Star Wars franchise. Yep, there's the really complicated deal with Comcast too that stemmed from their Fox acquisition, which means that Disney could be forced into buying a 33% stake in Hulu. And that would mean that they'd have to splurge around $28 billion, even if they don't want to. You see the issue, right? The company is in a tough spot right now, and judging by how much they value their ownership of Marvel, selling Lucasfilm back to George seems like the logical way out. That's the thing, though. The rumor only came about because of these financial troubles, and there's no real evidence that it's even true. In fact, we don't even know if George wants his company back. I mean, just look at the way he's been over the years. When he sold Lucasfilm to Disney, he said that one of his greatest pleasures has been to see Star Wars passed from one generation to the next, and that it was time for him to pass the series to a new generation of filmmakers. The thing is, as much as fans would love to see him come back, the dude has retired, and it's not hard to see why. He's been making movies his entire life and is now entering his 80s. But that's not the only reason why this whole thing is just a rumor, because even Disney analysts have denied it. Take WDW Pro, for instance. They're a very credible source on everything related to the company. And well, as soon as the rumors started catching fire, they posted a tweet saying that they can verify with 1000% certainty that Disney isn't selling Star Wars or Lucasfilm back to George Lucas. At the same time, though, other Disney content creators like Doomcock and Kamran Pasha have said that there's some truth to the story. So, your guess is as good as mine. But with Disney's financial situation and everything else that's going on with the series, why would people doubt these rumors? Well, for one, the Star Wars franchise is bigger than it's ever been. And yes, that's despite all the struggles it's had. In fact, Disney's made way more than the $4 billion they paid for Lucasfilm, so it's not like they're bleeding money. Plus, they've invested too much into the franchise now, including entire theme parks like Galaxy's Edge. So to get rid of Star Wars and Lucasfilm just wouldn't make sense. Besides, the franchise is worth a lot more than it did a decade ago, meaning that George may not have the cash to buy his baby back anyway. Rather than being killjoys, though, let's just assume that the company is ready to sell. So then, the question is, why would George even want to buy Star Wars back? Well, he's not too fond of Disney. Yep, the dude's one of us. I mean, sure, he may have sold his soul to the devil, but that doesn't mean he likes the devil, right? You see, even though George was happy with the deal initially, he's since admitted that it wasn't the wisest decision in the world. In fact, he says that selling his company was a painful experience for him. George also didn't agree with the direction of Star Wars under the new regime. Take The Force Awakens, for example. He says that he didn't like that Disney turned it into a retro movie, a copy of A New Hope, because for him, every movie he made felt different from the last one. As for The Last Jedi, well, Lucas thought the film was beautifully made, so he was probably disappointed when Disney did a U-turn and totally retconned lots of elements that Rian Johnson had introduced in the movie. Besides, there's the whole thing about his role as a creative consultant, too. You see, George had a vision for the sequel trilogy and was happy to help Disney implement that, too. But sadly, the company decided to totally ignore his advice. In fact, that's one of the reasons why he retired. I mean, we all saw just how badly Disney has handled the franchise, right? Because there's no way George would ever bring Emperor Palpatine back from the dead. So he's clearly hurt by what they've done to his series, and now he wants it back. The truth is, Star Wars would look very different under George. Sure, you could say that he didn't plan things out during the original trilogy, but we've all seen just how well the prequels have aged. They're not masterpieces by any stretch of the imagination. The way they connect the Star Wars universe together, though, cannot be undermined. George is a creative genius, and he has a clear vision of what he wants Star Wars to be. And let me tell you, it's not even close to what Disney's doing with the series right now. He's not someone who milks the franchise and uses nostalgia to pull audiences. Instead, George is all about expanding the Star Wars universe and making sure people have something new to look forward to with every new installment. Besides, even if he's not directly involved with the franchise after buying it back, I'm sure someone like Dave Filoni would love to work under his guidance. This would finally give fans what they've always wanted from the galaxy far, far away. So there you have it. From the father of Star Wars wanting creative control over his baby again, to Disney struggling to keep its massive franchises profitable, that's why George Lucas should buy back Lucasfilm.